coming by and hanging out for a little bit. It's good to have you.
My pleasure, man.
Always good to see you. So
Likewise.
you've been cutting hair for 5 years now.
Yes.
How did everything get started? Why did you choose art and cutting hair?
Well, it's a long story. I wanted to be a Power Ranger when I was 5. That didn't work out. I eventually, started working in other things that interest me. In high school, there wasn't anything in particular that was of interest except for things with my hands, ceramics, building things, wood shop, all that type of stuff. So I started working in a tattoo shop, again with my hands. I started doing piercings and stuff like that. It was local, it was at my hometown, and I wanted to, do more. So I'd always had an interest in doing hair as a kid. In the emo screamo scene, I would color my hair, would help my girlfriends do the bottom of their hair and stuff like that. So I decided to take a little bit deeper of a dive with it, and I signed up for hair school in Sacramento back in 2009.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how did you get from Sacramento to Orange County?
Well, I finished school, and I met a really good friend of mine, my best friend now. We were kids, like 21, and likewise, we also were searching for more. So we decided to move to Orange County in hopes, to figure out what life's all about, like all of us. So we decided to move, and I worked there and lived there for about a year. Again, I found myself a little bit restless and had to search for more, and I wanted more opportunities. That's when I reached out to somebody, his name is Jerry Park, in LA, hoping for another sort of open gateway to a whole new realm of opportunities. After a year living in Orange County, I moved to LA, and I've been here ever since.
Nice. So you were kind of like bouncing around in Orange County and working underneath people, and even up in LA, you were working underneath Jerry. How did you get from working underneath someone to owning your own salon, and what ultimately was like the driving force for you to do that?
I just always knew that I was capable to be in charge of what I wanted. As a kid, my biggest fear was failing, and I just didn't ever want that. And I had girlfriends tell me when I was young, they're like, I'm not even gonna be there. They would say this like, I'm never gonna be, so like, you're never gonna fail, because I was so afraid of failing. So with that in mind, I just set a goal for myself and just did everything along the journey of a way. Everyone thinks success is a straight line, but it's a curved and got crazy dips and all that type of stuff. So set out to have a goal and worked really hard towards it. A lot of dedication, a lot of sacrifice nights, a lot of consistency, a lot of consistency, perfecting my craft, and along with cultivating a network in all the things that I'm interested in. Those two things married together.
So speak to your network. You, as like a music and someone who's deeply into the music scene, you were able to build a network of clients in that scene or from that scene that are a lot of really big DJs. Share with everyone how you kind of grew that customer base as your clients.
Well, just being the type of person, social butterfly as I am, I really found myself feeling comfortable whenever I would go out to nightclubs, festivals, any sort of social situation where having a good time was involved. And then, you talk to people, and being involved in that type of scene, you just keep your relationships up. And I really was taught at a young age, treat people how you want to be treated. And I learned that, and I never forgot it. And, this world's small. You're going to see the people that you see probably for the rest of your life. It's only going to get smaller, and everyone knows everyone. 6 degrees of separation. Well, it's pretty much one now if you have a cell phone with Instagram on it. So, With that being said, you gotta always, be who you are, and word travels fast. So if you have a consistent, genuine aspect to you, that will, that's what people remember you by.
It's so true. That's really the truth. Is that 6 degrees of separation. So, tell me a little bit about what inspires you to keep you going as an artist? You've got a unique style in what you're doing with your razors. Where do you get your inspiration from for all of those cuts?
My biggest inspiration to start would be the tattoo industry. I've seen it change a lot over the years, and a lot of which I've really been interested in, like sacred geometry and that whole side of things. So I try to incorporate that as much into hair with, you know, lines and all that type of you know, artwork. I also, you know, very influenced by music and, you know, the way that certain people that we look up to as artists and music artists, the way that they've worn their hair over the years, you know, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Well, it's 2015, and it's, you know, everything's been recycled and revamped and married from the old to the new. And it's, I think, to be a well-rounded artist, you need to be able to embody all of that and really give credit to these types of different industries, or not industries, but you know what I mean, like time eras. And then my biggest one that is, I would say, is another huge influence is fashion. Fashion's changed over a lot of the years. A lot of things come back and they recycle. When you understand all those types of things in all those industries, with hair, I found myself in this, you know, place where I could excel at, because for one, not millions of people are, well, now millions of people are trying to do it, but back then there wasn't as many people trying to do the types of things that were very outside the box, along with the hype. Now there's so much hype with hair, there's so much hype with DJs, there's so much hype in fashion. If you know, that's a huge thing, is if you have your hand in every single one of those and you're able to understand each side of that culture as us as humans, then you can really understand what isn't made yet, and make hybrids and make unique things that make you stand out from everyone else.
So you have your own salon. What advice would you give to everyone out there that's watching this video that wants to one day own their own salon, as far as a way for them to get there?
I would say a thing that everyone needs to do is look deeply within themselves. This world's changing very fast, and if you don't keep up with the changes, you won't be able to adapt and, you know, transform into the future of things. If you get caught in a certain place and you don't move forward in a rut, like, you won't find yourself later on. So, like, what I'm saying is searching deeply inside yourself to figure out really what makes you happy. And as soon as you get a feeling that this isn't right, this doesn't feel good, you need to move on, and you can't look back, because like I said, the world's changing. And if you get stuck somewhere, you could be stuck there for a long time, and it's a risk. You know, I've taken a lot of risks over the years. I made sure that for the most part, what the risk I was going to take was a sure bet, though. That's another thing too, is really weighing out the situation. I mean, myself and a lot of my associates, like yourself, we write a lot of things down. That's another thing, is write things down. Write them verbally out on, you know, I have a whiteboard all over, and I write all over it. And I try to get as many ideas out to...
So you set up a checklist, you monitor what you want to achieve, and you make sure...
Check them off the list.
Yeah, that's great. I do the same thing myself. It's a good practice to get into, to be able to really push yourself and make sure that you're setting yourself up to succeed. You can't just rely on it. So big success recently for you is you have a magazine that you're going to be featured in. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's called West Hollywood Magazine. A client of mine reached out to a friend of his, and they decided to add me in the feature with a bunch of other hairstylists that work at the studio spot that I have my salon at. It's called Salon Republic. It's in West Hollywood. It's on Sunset Boulevard. And yeah, so that comes out in September. Really excited. I have this to be like the second or third time I think I've been featured in a magazine. So I'm really excited because like this is like my hometown now.
Yeah.
I've adopted. Not really a transplant anymore. I think 5 years is enough.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that. Be sure to check out the September issue of West Hollywood Magazine to see Dre's article and photographs. If you want a sneak peek, you can check him out on Instagram at Dre Hair. or his salon is craft.salon with a K. And on top of that, I want to thank Dre for coming by and sharing his story. It's been good to have you.
Yeah.